My dear people of the southern Cameroons, brave warriors of our revolution, once more, let me say Happy New Year to everyone. It is true, sometimes we may even play with fireworks, try to be jubilant, try to be celebrative, try to be in great mood, even when things appear to be so tough and difficult. That is not because everything is fine. It is because we are indicating that we will continue to rise above the challenges that come before us. So I therefore take this opportunity again to say Happy New Year to all the people of the southern Cameroons, wherever you may be. My dear people, in our communication today, we are going to examine two big pieces of information that translate into great advance in our march towards freedom. We have a move that was taken by the Coalition on Negotiations and Dialogue on the 28th of December. 3 days afterward, the Senate of the United States of America passed a landmark resolution, Resolution 684. This resolution is so far-reaching, and if you don't take time to read it properly, you may think it is the same like others. No, this is an action resolution. Those are the two key things we'll be examining today. But before we get there, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish neighboring La République du Cameroun happy Independence Day belatedly, because that was, on Friday, which is New Year Day. And so a lot of our people who have been brainwashed over the years to almost think that the history books still loitering around, because they've tried to destroy as many as possible so that you don't know the history of that country, that you should think the history books that are still loitering around that say La République du Cameroun was independent on the 1st of January 1960, and they got their independence without the southern Cameroons. In fact, you will have an opportunity today to live the reality so that you stop daydreaming and begin to live reality. My dear people, there is nothing as costly as telling a lie, because when you tell a lie, you need too many lies to sustain that lie. That is why La République du Cameroun is finding a lot of difficulties today to handle this conflict they created in the southern Cameroons. When we begin talking about this resolution 684, you will understand further why La République du Cameroun has cause to weep just at the start of 2021. We are on a good footing. So let me at least play this little piece to, extend congratulations to La République du Cameroun on their Independence Day on the 1st of January 2021. They refuse to celebrate, and we know why they refuse to celebrate. But we want to let them know that we will never let them alone until they begin to recognize that we don't belong together. We have never belonged together. Just listen.
Camerounais, Camerounaises, le Cameroun est libre et indépendant. L'indépendance, comme la liberté, est un bien qui se conquiert et se reconquiert chaque jour.
On the first day of 1960, the Republic of Cameroon celebrated its first day of independence. The people of Cameroon, comprising many different ethnic groups and cultural traditions, came from all parts of the new republic to the capital city of Yaoundé and to the seaport of Douala to celebrate. Visitors to Cameroon on Independence Day included the late Dag Hammarskjöld, Secretary General of the United Nations, and dignitaries from countries all over the world. independence activities included an address by President Amadou Ahidjo.
Camerounais,
You certainly have had the opportunity to listen to that interesting report. So that report is, a rare discovery of this report that happened to have been in the English language, where the people of La République du Cameroon were celebrating their first Independence Day in 1960, on January 1, 1960. And you see there in that video the late John Good Foncha, who went there as a visitor from a neighboring country to, share in the joy of La République du Cameroon on their day. Today, they have continued to ignore this day and have tried to tell a lie that we belong together. That is why they are the only country in the world that is not celebrating their Independence Day on the day they ought to celebrate. My dear people, last time I said something here, that you have people who will be ready to tell even a lie about themselves, to punish themselves just because they want to cause trouble to others. That's why La République is not recognizing its own Independence Day, simply because they want to keep Southern Cameroons in bondage. Good enough, those of you who are still doubting out there, who have been brainwashed out there over and over, to think that we are fabricating stories by saying we don't belong together, we have never belonged together. You definitely had the opportunity today to hear for yourself. That video is not fabricated. You heard the voice of President Ahidjo. You could see all of them inside there. All of the actors in 1960 were there. Let's get out of that one and move to the big things that are unfolding and that are going to define the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement. Like I said earlier, the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations scored a landmark point for our struggle on December 28, 2020. Let me get it from this release that I received from them for you to hear by yourself. They said the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations announces the signing of a contract with Kurt Lamp Worldwide. This Kurt Lamp Worldwide, a United States-based strategic communications firm with more than 4 decades of experience in strategic communications and marketing. The firm provides public relations and communication strategy services for groups, political organizations, and corporations in the US and around the world. So Kurt Lamp Worldwide was part of the production team during the Democratic National Conventions beginning in 1996 and continuing through 2020. They have vast experience in strategic communications for corporate and political organizations, including the 2020 Biden-Harris campaign. Kitty Kurth and Kevin Lamb, both co-founders of Kurt Lamp Worldwide, assisted President Barack Obama in the preparation for his historic speech at the 2004 Democratic Convention. So, the CDN says, we take this opportunity to thank Kurt Lamp Worldwide for partnering with the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations to ensure an effective implementation of the resolutions from the Virtual International Conference on the Armed Conflict in the Southern Cameroons, as well as CDN's goals. My dear people, if you don't know it, let me put it straight and clearly to you. This is a very big step in the right direction. And it comes at the right moment. At a time some people started thinking that we are totally disorganized, that we are not going to be able to properly handle our affairs. It comes at a time that a lot of people were beginning to be worried that our communications, our strategy of, reaching out was getting disjointed. Listen, any movement, any group, any stakeholder that scores the goal must be celebrated. That is how we win. Any stakeholder that hits hard on La République du Cameroun must be celebrated. Recall, in 2017, we started with the Foley and Hawk law firm that played the role of advocacy for us, that played the role of lobbyists for us, that helped us open doors here and there. And then somewhere along the line, because of disagreements and misunderstandings, we jumbled our pedals and we lost that opportunity. And La République du Cameroun learned from us. And you are now aware that they have about 4 or 5 firms in the United States struggling to spray perfume over their excrement to no avail. That is why we are making it despite the difficulties and the challenges before us, because we are on the side of the truth. But when you are defending a lie, you have to spend so much to defend that lie. And chances that you succeed are always extremely slim. My dear people, I invite each and every one of us to honestly continue to support all those who by day and by night in their various professions continue to work very hard without seeking at any moment to be gloried, to be praised, just because they want to defend the Southern Cameroon's flag. This is a big step. It's a giant step. And I'm sure the fruits of this initiative will not take long to be felt. I guess you understand the caliber of the firm, the connections of this firm. It tells everything that you need to know. That said, let me move now on to another very important issue. Like I said earlier, today is a day of, should I say, a day of near celebrations. Because like I said in my previous communication on December 31, 2020, I said I continue to hear that sound of victory far in the horizon. And trust me, that sound of victory every other day keeps coming closer and closer. It may still be a bit far off, but it is making progress. The most important thing we need at this point in time is motion. So it has come to pass that the Senate of the United States of America has passed this landmark resolution 684. I know that as soon as you hear this, some people will say, but they have been passing those resolutions. What has changed? Oh my goodness. Let me say this, because before I came to begin this recording, I heard and I saw a release signed by one of the numerous colonial DOs in Bamenda, saying he will be visiting the shops of business people in Bamenda this Monday, that is tomorrow, January 4, 2021, and that no absence will be tolerated. Let me ask this question. Since when do divisional officers or civil administrators become inspectors of people's businesses? Have they replaced the customs officers who may come around once in a while to check to see that every piece of item in your shop came in through the normal channels? Have they become taxation officials? What have they become? These are all signs of failure, all indicators, pointers to the effect that Mr. Paul Biya and his government have run out of options. My dear people, let me say this to you. You should not find yourself at your shop tomorrow, this Monday. No, it is Ghost Town. This Ghost Town was instituted by us, the civil society, and it is our right, our absolute right to carry out peaceful demonstrations. If we have the right to move into the streets and say we are not happy with something, how much more of the right to decide to stay at home in protest? This brutality they exerted on the streets, they killed a good lot of us on the streets. But because we have now refused to go to the streets again carelessly where they will meet and kill, they now feel that they need to smoke us out of our homes and chase us right into our shops. My dear people of the southern Cameroons, whether you're in Bamenda, in Kumba, in Victoria, or in Mamfe, don't get to any shop tomorrow. Keep the ghost towns there holy. Stay back at home. Continue to pray. And I have news here. Because this resolution that emanates from the Senate of the United States of America says exactly what I'm saying here. That it is our right to peacefully protest what we don't like. And so, like I was saying, this resolution is different from others. And it is good you know at this point in time, because this resolution does three things. Unlike previous resolutions that were just condemnation, and then calling on the government of La République du Cameroun to carry out investigations into their own atrocities, this resolution does something different. Number one, it empowers the U.S. State Department to carry out concrete action. That is why this resolution is very clear and urges the U.S. State Department to begin meting out targeted sanctions at all those, both in our ranks and in the ranks of the government of La République du Cameroun, that will continue to violate the rights of the people to freedom of association and multifarious freedoms. Let me take this particular part of it. This is the first resolution where it says resolve that the Senate, 1, strongly condemns abuses committed by state security forces and armed groups in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, including extrajudicial killings and detentions, the use of force against civilians and non-violent protesters, torture, rape, kidnappings, and other forms of violence against women, and the violations of the freedoms of press, expression, and assembly. So, stay at home this Monday. Allow Mr. Achobang Paul, who says he's city mayor, the impostor. Allow the colonial divisional officers, I hear there are a good number of them in Bamenda and in other parts of the southern Cameroons. Allow them to go fight with your shops. Allow them to go out there and get their names added to the list of those who will soon be targeted. My dear people, when you have overcome someone, this is how they behave. You want signs that we are leading. You want signs that we are winning. You want signs that we are on the right trajectory, that we will make it despite our disorganizations. At least this is a sign. Mr. Paul Biya, for the first time in his speech to his fellow countrymen and women, said the conflict in what he calls the Northwest and Southwest is taking a heavy toll on his country. That is why they are doing this. We have from time immemorial been the breadbasket of La République du Cameroun. Today, things are no longer the same. They are feeling the pain, but pretending that nothing is happening. So I'm talking about this resolution. I just read one part of it. This resolution, again, besides empowering the U.S. Department of State to make sure they begin meting out targeted sanctions. If you know how the United States operate, the branches of government are clearly functional. They are not as dormant as it is the case in Cameroon. So the legislative branch needs to empower the executive branch to go ahead and carry out certain actions. As representatives of the people of the United States, the Congress, therefore, has made clear that henceforth, it is no longer just talk. They have empowered, the Senate has empowered the executive, the U.S. Department of State, and all other agencies, as it says. I mean, all other agencies. And also the representation at the United Nations Security Council. And they even urge the U.S. State Department to coordinate diplomatically with other partners to ensure that there is a reasoned and quick international response to what is happening in the southern Cameroons. You want to know? In that resolution, the US Congress outrightly calls out France, singles out France as standing as an obstacle. An obstacle to more robust international action. And that is why, as one of their allies, they are urging the State Department to diplomatically coordinate and ensure that all those who are still standing as stumbling blocks clear the path for there to be something more serious than what we are seeing happening. At 3 different levels, this resolution talks about the need for an internationally mediated settlement, negotiations in the presence of a credible mediator. That comes up 3 times in Article 3, in Article 4, and Article 5 of this resolution. 3 times. This resolution also carries provisions in which the United States Senate urges the U.S. State Department to empower the civilian population in the southern Cameroons with oversight to ensure that equipment and any form of military assistance ever given to La République du Cameroun to be used against Boko Haram in the far north is not diverted to be used in the southern Cameroons. So from today, you as civilians on ground zero, anytime you see anything that looks like a U.S. equipment being used by the soldiers on the ground, take out your phones. Take a good position where you will not be seen. Take pictures. That is evidence enough that will be used to ensure that those kind of actions are stopped and checked. This resolution asks again that they should continue to reduce to the barest minimum any form of assistance or collaboration with La République du Cameroun. This is absolutely important, my dear people of the southern Cameroons. In this resolution, the U.S. Senate outrightly corrects Mr. Paul Biya, who in his speech to his people decided not to say anything about what happened in Gabu. But this resolution clearly talks about what happens in Gabu and attributes responsibility. This resolution also makes clear that the U.S. government will continue to hold the government of La République du Cameroun, first of all, solely and totally responsible for the security of the people, meaning for all of what is happening on the ground, because this doesn't have to happen in the first place. We didn't have to be here. So, my dear people of the southern Cameroons, take note that all the talk of we have had national dialogue or grand national dialogue or grand national monologue, that is mentioned in the resolution but brushed aside because the international community recognizes that it was a charade. That is why in this resolution, the U.S. Senate says that Mr. Paul Biya, who is the oldest president in Africa, hastily organized some national dialogue, of course, which doesn't address the situation as it is. So this resolution simply notes that the discussions that have to take place, the negotiations that have to take place in the presence of a credible mediator must have to address the root causes. I mean, the root causes of the conflict between the two Cameroons. Now, when the CDN organized its survey, the people of the southern Cameroons were asked what they considered to be the root cause of the conflict between the two Cameroons, between the southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. Over 84% of the people pointed out clearly that it was botched decolonization. This is exactly what La République du Cameroun doesn't want to hear. This is exactly what is sending fright through the spines of Mr. Paul Biya. This is exactly why Mr. Paul Biya and his government have continued to run away from the negotiation table. This is exactly why they don't want to hear about any internationally mediated talks. This is exactly why they decide to play for time. Play for time by using all kinds of means. Of course, we all know about the Swiss-led initiative. That La République du Cameroun took advantage of the fact that the Swiss didn't insist on obtaining a clear mandate from them in the first place to begin playing pranks. They are not in, but they are not saying anything. They're not making any statement. They've never made any statement about it until today. Because they used that to play for time. Because they felt that by using that opportunity with the Swiss to give the impression that something is happening when nothing is happening, they would take time to break the resilience, to break the resolve of our people, and come and tell them 4 years. They don't come and tell us that 4 years on, what have you achieved? There is nothing to show for it. Give up. Unfortunately, it's not working. The DDR is there. Since it was created, how many people have gone in there? Last time I checked, I heard figures, advance of Amber Boys getting to the, close to 100,000 or more. When I heard Barrister Ashu talk on Equinox at one point, I heard him quote a credible source talking about 650,000 of them. But go to the DDR centers, both in Biya and Bamenda. Does any one of them have up to 200 people in each one? No. No. My dear people, the fact that we have continued for all these years as the civilian population, as a civil society, to stay home every Monday in protest has been a great, great weapon. That is why La République is fighting it tooth and nail, because that is the most visible aspect of our movement. The British tried to disrupt the resolve of the Indians, led by Gandhi. They did not succeed. There is nothing as difficult as trying to erase an idea from the minds of the people. Which idea has taken root? That is why they say it is easy to resist an entire army regiment than it is to resist an idea whose time has come. The time for freedom for the people of the southern Cameroons is now, and nothing is going to stop it. Sometimes people give up at some points, and it is simply because they don't know how close they already were to victory. Because if they did, they will not give up. And now I'm coming here, my dear people of the southern Cameroons, to notify us, to notify every one of us, that with every passing day, we are inching closer and closer to victory. That is why, you heard Mr. Biya make a very disjointed speech. He made a speech for the sake of making a speech. It is not by coincidence, but by divine providence, that this resolution comes out just the next day after that hogwash speech he presented, to negate virtually everything that he said in that speech. Like I pointed out in my previous communication, all what we need to do as a people right now is simply to resolve to work together. It's simply to resolve to stop fighting each other. It's simply to resolve to agree on an internal ceasefire among us. It's simply to agree to coordinate our communication. It's simply to agree to plan our strategies together and avoid the confusion that appears to have, touched the minds and hearts of some people to the point where they almost started believing that Southern Cameroons is a pipe dream. No, Southern Cameroons is reality, and it will come to pass. I said will come to pass. So back to this resolution. One other thing this resolution says is it empowers the State Department to ensure that the situation in the Southern Cameroons comes up for discussion as a standalone item on the agenda of the United Nations Security Council. Aren't we getting closer? At some point, people ask, but are we internationalizing? You can see for yourselves where we are. The people in the diaspora have been working relentlessly. It is true that because of the cacophony of a few, back home, people have just shouted, oh, the diaspora. Some even almost say we're a curse. But trust me, my dear people, there are people in this diaspora who don't sleep, who spend day and night knocking at doors, knocking at offices, getting into places just to make sure that international stakeholders recognize the truth. And which is that truth? That we are a people, that we were once an independent country, that we deserve to restore our independence, and that we cannot make it with La République du Cameroun. And these people are scoring points. They are succeeding big time, despite the noise and haste from a little bunch. The big majority of our people in the diaspora are working extremely hard. You may not know some of them now. You may not even hear their names. They are not even interested in letting you know them or hear their names. They are just anxious to produce results. This is what the struggle is all about. Some of us who have the possibility to talk, to inform you, to mobilize you, will continue to hail the beautiful actions of all those who are putting efforts to make sure we get there. So this resolution is a landmark resolution. And I think it is in circulation. Find time, read it. There are articles about it circulating everywhere on social media, on news websites like the website that you find on the screen. Visit this website. You will get a clear-cut analysis of this article or of the articles contained in this resolution. And you will see, my dear people, what progress we have made. I could go on and on and on, but I may have to come back still on this resolution because it is huge. There is so much. When I pick any sheet of paper, it is just, it's just full of information I can begin to read and read and read. But you get this other little patch on which I've just fallen, which says, the U.S. Senate urges members of the international community to join in a strategic collective effort to pressure the government of Cameroon and separatist armed groups, including through the use of available diplomatic and punitive tools, to immediately conclude and uphold a ceasefire, participate in an inclusive and meaningful dialogue to address the root causes of the conflict, and it goes on to indicate that, just don't worry, I'll get that specific page because, like I said, it is huge. Huge, huge, huge. And I took the pains to get a lot of it. Okay, it continues here. And, pending grievances and seek non-violent solutions to the conflict, including by possibly involving an independent and a credible mediator. This is what La République du Cameroon doesn't want to hear. This is not a resolution like any other one that has come before it. This resolution, I should actually call it directives, that it is the US Senate, the US Congress giving directives to the executive arm of the US government to carry out concrete actions, strong actions to ensure that peace will reign between the people of the Southern Cameroons, a sovereign country on the one hand, and the people of La République du Cameroun on the other. It is just a matter of time. We have to continue to be strong. So it is not after the international community begins to come in this strong that we will give up. No. You see, they will multiply these efforts against the ghost towns because they are hurting. They will. They will multiply these efforts. But we have to remain strong. We have been strong all the while until this moment. It is not now that we're going to give up. My dear people, I will continue to hail and thank and congratulate each and every one of us, especially those on ground zero, those in the bushes, our prisoners of war who are facing torture every day in the dungeons of La République du Cameroun everywhere, those who are in hospitals, those who are in the bushes and in the forest not being able to eat, those who are in refugee camps facing untold hardship. I hail all of you. I pay glowing tribute to all of you. And I assure you all, my people, our time to smile is ahead. There is no giving up at this point in time. No, this is not the time for us to give up. It is rather the time for us to forge on, to go on, to keep strong until we get to the promised land. So, in conclusion, my dear people, let us continue to grow our resolve to go all the way. Call one another, encourage them. Those who are getting weak and threatening to fall behind, call and encourage them. Tell them, no, it is not yet over until it will be over. And it will only be over when we shall be screaming and shouting and dancing on the streets of Biya and Bongo Square and saying, free, free, free at last. We are free. My dear people, once more, Happy New Year. Let us stay strong. Let us stay resilient. Let us continue to encourage one another, and let us try as much as possible to work together. With synergy, we will shorten this journey. To God be all the glory. Thank you very much. I'm delighted we all had time to share this very beautiful message.